Welcome back. This is B-Side Banter. We are on episode 20. I'm here with What's the Buzz. Super excited. You probably know all about him, about his channel. TikTok, Instagram are two of the big ones. I know you're on YouTube as well, but definitely found you through TikTok. You do a ton of stuff just around hip hop. That seems to be kind of your main area of focus, but I'm going to let you do the talking in a little bit more of that intro for yourself. So I'll kick it over to you.
Okay. Hi, I'm What's the Buzz or whatever you want to call me. Yeah, basically mostly probably known for short form content through YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Do some long form here and there on YouTube as well. Main focus is hip hop, as you said, and kind of review style slash story style content where I can honestly, I just talk mostly about stuff that I'm really passionate about, artists I'm passionate about, albums I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Kind of keep it in that realm, whereas I'm like comfortable enough to speak about it at length and make
Mhm.
multiple videos on or whatever the heck. So yeah, that's kind of my style. I started a couple years ago and still doing it somehow. So good stuff.
Yeah, you're really doing it.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I think that we were kind of talking very briefly just about how you kind of it takes a little while to figure out exactly what you're going to do, and I feel like you've really found that, and whether you're still tweaking it a little bit, but you definitely have such a good like kind of channel focus and vision for what you're
thank you.
doing. And yeah, I'm always like always I find you know TikTok is kind of ruined short form content for everybody because
Mhm.
nobody follows anybody anymore, and you're just wait for like content to come on your For You page. But whenever I do have I follow you, but whenever you do come up on my For You page, I'm always like going back through videos that I've missed because I'm like,
Yeah.
what in the world? Yeah, I don't know, like they have the following tab, but I just never use it. I feel like nobody ever uses it. I don't know, maybe
I've
I'm wrong
never
with that.
used it. I don't even myself go on TikTok too much just because of how the content is served to you. I'm a YouTube
Yeah.
kid like through and
Mm,
throughout,
yeah,
like
yeah,
the 2010s and all that stuff. So
yeah.
I always sought out what I wanted to watch. So now that TikTok kind of flipped that on its head,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Everything has changed that way, and
Hmm.
it's kind of a shame. Um, but yeah, you're in the hip hop world. You do like some news stuff. You're not like
Yeah.
focused solely on news. You do some of that stuff. Who are
Hmm.
some of the people that you typically follow? Because I know there's like a few people that I've talked to that are in like the hip hop news world, and it's just never ending. Like you could literally just waste so much
Hmm.
time just with all of these different storylines. But who are some people that you're just
Yeah.
like I follow everything about so and so?
I mean, and news in general is tough to like consolidate to a page or a person, just because
Yeah.
again, a lot of it's narrative stuff that's pushed towards us, and a lot of
Mhm.
it's unnecessary info that kind of like clutters the music conversation that should be at the forefront rather than news or any sense. But
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta immediately shout out Fantano, of course. That's the first person in general who really took over content creation in terms of
Mhm.
music review. That format is something I'm amazed at, that stays so consistent. I've been watching him since 2013. Ever since he released the Tyler the Creator Wolf review, that's the first time I saw him
Nice.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
So 12 years now.
Crazy.
Still does great.
Yeah.
That's someone definitely shout out. I always got to shout out like people like the NFR podcast for being
Mhm.
kind of really quick with the new stuff.
Yeah.
Just that's also something you have to really optimize in content creation. You want to be the first one out, the biggest one
Mhm.
out to saying whatever the news source is. So
Yeah.
that's a great one as well. And then I don't know. I honestly don't watch that many people because I don't particularly love the meta in terms of the short form content. So I
Yeah.
like a longer form channel.
Mhm.
I honestly, I know we're gonna delve into probably the Pusha T and the clips conversations, but there's been a lot of there's a new page called the Popcast. It's
Mhm.
two guys
Yeah.
that
I've
are,
heard it.
I
Yeah.
think they're New York Times associated, that are doing
Mhm.
interviews with artists, and just like
Mhm.
longer form podcast content
Yeah.
is really
Mhm.
my jam.
Yeah, totally. I
Hmm.
feel you there. Other than the fact that like I wish I had more time to actually devote to it. Like that is like
Yeah.
that's the catch 22 of it, right? Like I want to have that long form. I want to watch that and I want to hear I don't just want to hear a clip. I want to hear the context. I want to hear everything about it, right? Because that's what's really more important. And but at the same time, I'm like, I don't have an hour to sit down and like do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get both sides. But I do. I think my biggest, I guess, want for content is longer form. And I've even found now, like on TikTok, my algorithm is like clips, and what I'll do is I'll go to a podcast clip and then I'll just like watch all the clips of that one podcast because I want more of it. But I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I could sit down. In all reality, I could have just opened up YouTube and probably watched 20
It's
minutes of it and it would have been fine.
yeah.
But like in my mind, I'm like, I don't have time to watch this whole thing. Let's
Mhm.
watch 30 clips of this one podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's down to the kind of content you grew up enjoying prior to
Yeah.
TikTok existing. Because I
Hmm.
believe most people watching are probably a little older than 5 or whenever
Yeah.
TikTok blew up.
Yeah, it's
So,
true.
like I said, I grew up as a YouTube kid. I'm a huge fan of YouTube videos, like
Hmm.
any type. So I almost like seek out like when a clip comes up on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram about a podcast. I'm like, yes, there's actually an hour of content I can watch or listen to while I don't know, I go on walks or like bike around a little bit to get
Hmm.
outside. It's almost like leisure content, but
Yeah.
also I'm feeding content potentially for myself.
Hmm. Yeah, totally. Um, and maybe like keeping with this, like I have on like one of the things I was kind of interested to talk to you about. And a lot of the time, the things I'm interested to talk to guests about are because I don't really know a whole lot. Like here to learn as much as I'm here to like add to the
Yeah.
discussion. But
Yeah.
lately on your channel, I've been intrigued by kind of your clips with Pusha T. I know that he kind of ebbs and flows into the narrative, the big narrative of hip hop. And I think one of your videos, I hope I'm getting this correct, but basically you were saying, does he only pop up when there's drama? And then you kind of unpack that a little bit. And
Mhm.
I'd be interested to just kind of unpack that conversation a little bit because
Sure.
from my perspective, I like Pusha T. I like several of his projects, but I'm not like a big Pusha T fan, so I don't follow his
Yeah.
storyline outside of when I see he's dropped something and people are like, "Oh, this is amazing." Then I check it out.
Sure.
But from my perspective, I'm kind of like, yeah, he does to me feel like he pops into the narrative when he wants to blow up a beef with somebody or he wants
Yeah.
to.
That
So
I guess that was kind of like it was somewhat of an ironic way to start that video because I personally don't think that, but I
yeah,
know a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of people do.
yeah,
I
totally.
have people close to me that specifically only know Pusha T for the Drake beef, then being referenced by Kendrick in the and another Drake beef, and then now
Yeah,
the Travis Scott kind of
yeah.
like whatever's going on. So
Mhm,
I understand to like maybe surface level Pusha T fan that might be or a listener that might be kind
mhm,
of the case. But as someone who's I've extensively followed Pusha T's solo career because I wasn't old enough or I guess in tune with music enough for the Clips era because that was
mhm.
what 2000s to 2009. So I was like
Yeah.
really young when that ended. But I was just getting into music when Pusha T embarked on solo stuff.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
signing to Kanye, the mixtapes, the My Name Is My Name album, and so on and so forth. And that's where he captivated me as like a as that kind of spooky character that's extremely
Yeah,
focused on lyricism, has very dark
yeah.
production, but
Mhm,
he kind of dips in and out of the like a pop crossover here and there. Like he has a song
mhm.
with Linkin Park somewhere in his catalog too.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
it's a very interesting trajectory to me, and I'm a big fan of um, cadence, presence, and like voice on rap songs in rap albums. And I think he has the perfect voice for rap. Like he cuts right through the mix. And
Yeah.
him and his brother Malice in clips, like they have such a similar tone that just sits on top of the beat and like really pierces the eardrum in a way, in like a good way. That sounds bad, but
Mhm.
in a good way. Where I've been like kind of like huge onto him. So my purpose with that video that you referenced was to maybe bring attention to, hey, this guy has some really, really solid albums. He's one of my
Yeah.
favorite rappers. It's not just the beef guy, even though it seems
Mhm.
like it.
Mhm.
And that's something I come kind of respect of him, because he doesn't have to do all that. He doesn't have to call out anyone in a specific way, because he's
Yeah.
so acclaimed as a hip hop artist by like
Mhm.
fans, but he still
Yeah.
has like almost like a calling, I guess, to shake things up a bit, which you kind of need
Mhm.
that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, and, um, like, yeah, it's funny because I think he's one of those artists that flies under the radar a little bit, but then has such a monumental work like
Yeah,
Daytona where people are
yeah,
like this is like could be in the conversation for maybe, top 20 hip hop albums.
I could
Definitely
see
of
it.
like the 2010s and on,
Hmm.
potentially of all time. Like a lot of people really and it's a great project. I love that project and like you said, the darker production, his real intentionality with lyricism. I
Hmm.
appreciate that about him. But it's like it to me, he almost feels to some degree like an artist's artist, if that makes
Mm,
sense. Like
yeah,
where people like really like him, but it's almost like some of your favorite, other than the people he's beefing with, obviously. Like, um, I don't think Drake would say this, but there's a lot of bigger artists that would be like, yeah, Pusha, like and give shout out and kind of push him into that limelight a little bit more.
Ironically, Drake did say that when he was growing up, Clips was his favorite group. He wanted to be signed to the
That's
same
yeah.
label as them, which is like hilarious to look
That
back at
is
many years
yeah,
later.
hilarious, yeah.
Um, yeah, I could see that, because like if you always look at Pusha T's like numbers, streams, listeners,
Mm,
it's good, but it's not like superstar level.
yeah.
So it's almost like as is one of his songs, is if you know, you know, kind of thing.
Mhm,
Which I think
mhm.
he's happy to like reside in that little bubble.
Yeah,
He's not
yeah.
looking to be this crazy huge artist. I don't think. Um, I don't know. He kind of resides in that area of those kinds of rappers that isn't selling himself out personally, or I guess
Mhm,
specifically musically, to sound more um like pop, I
mhm.
guess. But he's still feeding his fans what they want.
Yeah, totally.
Hmm.
And maybe like maybe hash out like this kind of new whatever is happening with Travis Scott and him,
Yeah,
because I think it's still like it's fairly fresh, and
yeah,
it probably will be going on for a little bit, but for people that might not even be aware that this is going on.
yeah. I mean, the storyline currently is that Pusha T and Malice, his brother Clips, they're as a group they were working on their upcoming album that's coming up this weekend, I guess,
Mm,
with Pharrell in Paris, and they've kind of always had like a weird relationship. They were like kind of Travis and Pusha were connected through the Good Music family,
yeah.
but honestly, as Kanye is slowly more and more separated himself from any type of um, sanity throughout the 2010s.
Yeah.
I feel like that Good Music kind of moniker and the group dissipated as well.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
then the story is that Pusha T, Pharrell, and Malice were working on this album, and Travis bursts through the door, says, "Hey, I want to play you this album." And you got to think about it. Travis is a modern artist. He is in his 30s, I believe, but he's very catering to the youth,
Yeah.
just because of just the visuals, the music, everything.
Mhm, mhm.
Whereas Push is someone who's very, stoic. He's kind of achieved that kind of OG status, I guess. So he's not really looking
Yeah.
to do these theatrics as much.
Mhm.
And Travis plays them Utopia. They're like, whatever. And then the next time, then the album comes out, and suddenly there's a song on Travis's album that's dissing not only Pusha T, no, sorry, not only Pharrell, but he's kind of just he didn't play him that song when he first came to visit them.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Pusha T feels kind of backstabbed by that.
Mhm.
And then he said, "But you've come to me before on the So Be It song, where you've cried in front of me, you've died in front of me, kind of thing. You've kind of came to me to complain. I was your shoulder to cry on, and now you're
Yeah.
kind of backstabbing and dissing my main guy." So I think that's their main issue. Again, Travis hasn't responded as of this date.
Mm,
I don't think he will through track. It might be a little bit of like a reference in one of the songs,
sure.
but to me, that's like what I like Pusha T is that he's extremely solid and loyal to who he's
Mm,
standing with. And
yeah.
Pharrell is like a childhood friend of his, so they've been together making music for like 30 years at this point.
Mm, mhm.
And he doesn't see Travis as theatrics as something to be proud of.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I find it so funny, like, there's no other genre like hip hop that's like this, and I know that, like, hip hop was kind of made this way, like, when you think of, like, rap battles and all that stuff, like, competition is, like, a huge component of the genre itself, um and maybe, like, some of this is because I'm just, like, in getting in I've just kind of gotten inserted into, like, the hip hop narrative in the last few years, but it does feel like there's just so much stuff happening in the last, like,
Yeah.
2 years in terms of beefing and, like, people getting really, like, frustrated and upset, and, like, I don't know, like, there's a whole lot of, like, talk around the industry as well, and, like, are
Mhm.
these, are these people's fandoms really legit, like, all this stuff,
Yeah.
selling out, is all of this stuff is kind of coming back to the surface. It's always been around for sure. Everybody talks about selling out, but it's like
Yeah.
it just feels like that's really being pushed into the surface right now.
Yeah.
um
I mean, I think that's another toxic thing about music conversation and just marketing in general, that
mhm.
you need these weird conversations and dramas and headlines to sell stuff
Yeah,
nowadays.
yeah,
Um, I'm personally not a fan of it. I like when the beef or whatever is musically, it's like strictly musically, and
yeah,
there's maybe some words here and there. I don't want it to be like the main focus of anyone's career or project or anything that they're doing at the time. It got to the point, like I'm a huge Kendrick fan. That
yeah,
beef was very entertaining for everyone,
yeah,
I think, and
yeah,
the clear victor as one. But he did gain a lot of new fans during that time that might only kind of expect that from him. So
mhm, yeah,
what are we expecting from Kendrick Lamar in a year or two? Of course, great music, but in terms of the status, he's now known as just like doing a victory lap. But that's not going to last forever. And I hope that
yeah,
doesn't maybe trigger a thing in his mind or his team's mind where like, okay, who's next? Drake's down.
yeah,
Let's look for more people. I
yeah,
doubt
yeah,
it, but you know how marketing is, you never know.
mhm,
So
absolutely,
there is a thing to say about the Pusha T like career arc, that he is really in the conversation mostly when there's stuff going around. But at least I'm deep down, I'm still just a music fan, and I'm happy that good
mhm,
music comes with it. If it was
yeah,
just drama, like some other artists that are only known for getting in trouble or beefing with like a mother of their child or something like that, then that's
mhm,
like where's the music at? It's kind of just
yeah,
drama.
yeah, totally, and yeah, it is funny, like, this is kinda getting out of hip hop, but, like, I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
that clip that was going around where Benson Boone was on Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, I think, and he was basically, like, talking about this whole thing that happened with him being so hated as an artist and this whole,
yeah,
like, Moonbeam ice cream thing, and he basically
mm,
said, like, "Hey, I started that, like, I paid people to be like, 'What the heck? What is Moonbeam ice cream?'"
wow,
And then it just went way further than he ever expected it to go, to the point where
yeah,
people are like, "What is Moonbeam ice cream? I hate Benson Boone. He's an idiot." Like, it just, like, went to the next level, but it is one of
yeah.
those, like, I was very surprised that he even said that. I'm sure his
That's
marketing team was probably like, "What are you doing?" Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, maybe they made enough, you know, money
It's
or
true.
motion from it to like pull the plug on it and be like, "Hey, it's all marketing."
Yeah.
I mean, that makes you think like how many things out there are happening that we don't know
Yeah,
is like being
absolutely.
paid or pushed on someone.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um you never know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to be honest, that's what I thought the Kendrick and Drake beef was at first. I was like,
Mhm.
I think this is just a marketing thing. Like, they're both like, Drake has been on the top of the game in terms of streaming numbers for a long time, but in terms of quality of music, he was really going downhill, like just getting a lot, like, most people's sentiment around him, especially critically, was like he just wants like he just wants
Yeah.
like cheap pop hits, and like Kendrick was kind of seen as like a little washed maybe. And so in my mind, I was like, is this just like both of them being like, hey, like we've kind of been falling
Mhm.
from grace. Let's attack each other. But there's obviously a history there. So it's a little
Yeah.
like it's a little, it would be pretty intense if this was a whole marketing thing. But like, as it started happening, I was like, oh, okay, I don't think this is that. But
Yeah, when
at
some
first, I
certain
was just
words were starting
suspicious.
to
Yeah,
when some certain words were starting to get used, I'm
yeah,
like,
seriously,
I don't know who
yeah,
wants to be associated with that, even if
yeah.
it is for money.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. No one does. So but yeah, it is, I think it is one of those things where it feels really hard to invest in bigger artists sometimes now because
yeah,
yeah, like you're like, is any of this genuine? Like it feels really disingenuous that like some of this stuff is happening and you're kind of questioning even with streaming. You're like, we know now that record labels,
yeah.
before we always kind of thought, but now we know record labels are buying millions of streams for their artists, and it's like what
You
is
know,
this?
I come from right before I started What's the Buzz. I was a musician, I guess, for a
Mhm,
couple of years, and it got to the point where even like locally, the conversation was okay. So we can allocate like $500 towards getting playlisted on Spotify to get some stream numbers, just to get like
mhm.
to 2,000 streams on your song. Like even at
Yeah.
that micro of a level, it's still a
Mhm.
conversation of like let's pay money to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
this number up and
Mhm,
our listeners up, so what, someone in a bigger city can maybe like invite you to a show or something. It's just
mhm.
immediately from the get-go, it's kind of like fake it till you make it. And I mean,
Yeah.
that I think just because that's so present to us, like Spotify is on everyone's phone, or any type of like streaming site, you can see numbers. So everyone's immediately like always aware of this, talking about it.
Mhm.
Whereas, you go to like Walmart or something, you see a product being sold, and
Yeah.
you don't know what kind of push is behind that because it's so label anonymous.
Mhm.
Whereas for music, everyone's aware of streaming, and like I
Yeah.
play games with my friends that's like, who gets the more monthly listeners? Like as if that matters, kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it used to be like, Billboard was kind of that like marker before
Yeah.
streaming, but like they're still around. No, I don't think people are pay attention to it as much, but like yeah,
Oh, I don't
it's
believe in
like
that one bit. Any
yeah,
billboard, like
I
that's
know.
all
Well,
payola. I'm sorry.
especially when like all of these new rule changes came into place, like because
Yeah.
of Travis Scott and Taylor Swift, obviously as well. But like when they were
Yeah.
selling when Travis was doing his $5 vinyls or whatever, and like basically artificially pumping up his
Yeah.
album sales, and then all of a
Yep.
sudden the album would drop off. Like he,
Oh
I
yeah.
was talking to I don't know if you know Tyson Jones, I think is his name. He
Yeah,
does
yeah.
like,
I just met him like a couple
oh
months
yeah,
ago.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
he's super cool.
Actually, I saw it was funny. I saw the most viewed. It was like Tyson and Maya. I'm like, I met both of these people like the same day, basically.
That's so funny. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had him on and he was telling me basically like I think his re-release of like tracks before rodeo maybe or whatever he
Mhm.
released.
Days before I do, yeah.
Yeah, days before.
Mhm.
It had like the biggest fall off from being number one on Billboard because
Yeah,
of how the like all of these schemes around how to get to the number one, and then there was no moment, like it was just like this huge
of
spike,
course.
and like you know even though Taylor Swift was doing this before with like her 10,000 versions of the Tortured Poets Department, but
Yeah.
like she was selling them for you know $40 or whatever it is, but Travis was like, yeah, here's $5 vinyls, and like it's a genius like scheme, but
Yeah.
it's like it's a scheme. And then Billboard's like,
And by
yeah,
the way, this
here
is
you
a
go.
mixtape that's been out for 10 years at that point. It's been available for
Exactly.
free for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's like almost it's a very critically acclaimed mixtape. So
Mhm.
it's just so
Yeah.
weird how we're like reheating food basically just to
Yeah.
make an
Seriously.
extra buck. But I actually don't even think, like from what insight I know, that doesn't make the label that much money because it takes a lot of money to push something to be
Mhm.
number one. So I
Yeah.
think it just might be for that label, like number one album in the country this week,
Well,
and
yeah.
then
I
falls off right
think
next week.
I think the dream is that because it's number one, it will then have organic, like continued growth or retention. Like, I think that's kind of the idea is like,
Yeah.
let's get it to number one and then it'll
Mhm.
stay on number one by itself. But then they
Yeah.
realize like, oh shoot, no, it won't. Like this thing dropped off
Yeah.
like crazy. But because they see that in streaming, they're pumping streaming numbers and they realize if I buy 2 to 5 million streams for this single, the organic growth will carry it further into, hundreds of millions or billions.
Sure.
So they're
Yeah.
like, let's try it with a whole album, and it's like probably not the best album to try it on. But anyway, it's
Yeah.
just I think it's all just this thing where now it's like, can we trust anything that these major labels? Oh, another crazy story that I heard of was this label. Um, they wanted to get, it was an independent label, so I don't know how they had this money, but they had this band, and they put them on like a 10 show tour or something, 5 show, I don't know, it was a small tour, and they put them in intentionally bigger venues than they knew they could sell tickets, and they purchased the tickets and
Wow.
hired like people to come in, like they hired like stand-ins to come
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
so that bigger labels would be like, oh wow, they sold out a five they sold out a 500 or whatever it was, 200 even, space venue for 5 shows. Like, these guys are legit. Like, it's just it's getting so crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, like, who that's supposed to convince. Like, it might just be targeting for like children, I guess, because only a child would not see through that and be like,
Yeah.
"This is not real." Like, honestly, the music should speak for itself. If the music is
Mm,
good and marketed well with like visuals, with
mm,
social media that's like organic, not like fake viral kind of like TikToks, like something that's more organic. It takes years. It takes years to build a brand. I think honestly, the SoundCloud era, which was what 2016 to 2018 ish, it
mm,
fed a lot of false hope to labels that you could really have like a low pump blow up overnight and make
yeah,
millions of dollars. You could have like a lot of artists that are
mm,
nobodies one night and then suddenly superstars. But that got
yeah,
played out really fast because
yeah,
everyone's trying to do it. So it's like a mill that's
mm,
constantly like rotating, and I
mm.
don't know.
Yeah, that's the same thing with, like, artists or individuals popping off on TikTok, right? Like, getting, one of
Yeah,
their songs getting millions of views on TikTok, and then translate into streams. And yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is actually like that good of an artist or that
no,
good of a songwriter or whatever it is. So I think labels have, like, they tried to chase that, and then they started realizing like, oh shoot, this person isn't cut out for like
huh.
pushing them to be an actual artist that can, write a full album and go on tour and all this stuff, right? So it's, yeah, I don't know. It is such an interesting thing. But here we are. This is the world we live in.
Yeah, I mean that's what I talk about day in day out. It's whatever's. I mean, I have to rely on whatever's hot to kind of like stay trendy in terms of the
Yeah.
topics.
Hmm.
But I think still the main conversation should always be the music, whatever genre it is, and
Yeah.
like
Mm,
I'm sure Benson Boone is making a whole lot of money, but is the
mhm,
music really gonna survive a couple of years into like a sophomore album, or I guess he already has an album before that, so a third
mhm,
album, like
mhm.
who really knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I don't know. He didn't really get a whole lot of love for this last album, so it's hard to say, but
Yeah.
he's got that fandom. I don't know. It is kind of funny
It's
that,
the
like,
backflips.
yeah, it is the theatrics, I think, to a degree. Like, I think that, and he is a good vocalist. Like, he's not a
Yeah,
bad,
yeah,
like,
sure.
you know what I mean? Like, he's a good vocalist. He's kind of got
Mm,
that Freddie Mercury vibe, which is, obviously the marketing is like, that's what they're trying to do, is push him as
absolutely.
that. Um, but yeah, it's just a tough, I don't know, I think for some people it's a tough pill to swallow, and then other people just love it because it's just like the most generic, like, forced pop ever, and they're just like, "We
Yeah, yeah.
love that," and that's fine, I guess,
Mhm.
that's fine. I don't like it, but I don't know. That's just me, I guess.
We have bigger fish to fry
Bigger fish to
than
fry.
Benson Boone.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, kind of like, maybe speaking on that, and you just mentioned, like, you have to rely on kind of things that are going on. What are some of your, like, kind of favorite albums that you've been listening to this year? And then
Mhm.
maybe off of that, what are some of, like, the biggest disappointments that you've seen that maybe have been pushed?
Yeah. I mean, I personally feel like 2025 for music hasn't been incredible thus far. I'm really hoping for this Clips album to kind of like knock me out of my
Yeah.
shoes, which I think it will, just because I'm a big fan of the artist.
Yeah.
But my favorite album of the year so far is definitely the posthumous Mac Miller album, Balloonerism.
Mm-hmm.
Just very tastefully curated and finished by his estate, his family, whoever was working on it.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not necessarily new music because it's been
Yeah.
floating around for a decade essentially, but
Mm-hmm.
just another reminder of how great and how much potential he had as an artist. If life wasn't cut short, essentially. So
Yeah.
that's definitely
Yeah.
one I'm a big fan of. And another one I've been kind of going back to a lot, and people clown me for this because it's trash raps, whatever. It's the Logic and Juicy J album, collab album that they released.
Okay.
Two really big artists who are now
Yeah.
independent, I believe, so they can do whatever they want. And
Mm-hmm.
it's such a relaxing, comforting, kind of like conversational, introspective album between two
Mm-hmm.
artists. Like Logic's
Mm-hmm.
doing most of the beats, Juicy J is
Yeah.
like doing his type of rap. And the cool thing is that Juicy J is usually, you expect them on like a trap beat, and
Mm.
Logic
Yeah.
had him rap on trap beats and then swapped out the production for more old school jazzy rap, which is such a
Mm.
unique concept. I
Yeah.
just loved it. It's so relaxing.
Hey,
Yeah,
I wouldn't razz you for that. I thought that that was a good album.
yeah,
I guess I'm not a huge Logic fan, so I wasn't
sure,
like, well, I guess I shouldn't say I'm not a huge. I don't dislike him, but I just don't follow
sure.
his stuff. But yeah, I thought it was a good album. Yeah.
I just think he as an artist is pretty had a rough couple of years, rough probably last half of his career essentially.
Yeah.
But he does have a lot in him. He had a really good album last year as well, the Ultra 85, that it kind of remade me a fan of his and kind of
Yeah.
captured why I like his style of music. And
Yeah.
and then you were asking about disappointments, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm a big album of the year user, so I kind of
Okay.
like have I keep track of my ratings here.
Yeah. Totally.
Obviously, I mean, it brings a tear to my, but that Lil Wayne album was
Oh
something else,
man,
man.
brutal.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
especially being called the Carter Six is
Yeah.
not a good
Yep.
time.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was like the worst thing in the world because there are some redeeming moments here and there, but
Yeah. Yeah.
clearly forced, shoehorned, and
Mhm.
the AI like beats. Come on, dude! Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and especially where I don't know, the expectation is just so high for him. So it's like it's really
yeah,
tough when you have a miss like that. Like he it's not like he's got a perfect discography. Like you can go through his albums and
no.
like there's a few here and there that you're like woof, but
Yeah,
he's got like some classics. And I
yeah,
think that's
yeah.
what's tough is you're like I hope this is going to be really good.
Yeah, and those classics come from that series, from the Carter
I know,
series. Like
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
the 2, 3, and 4, those are all
Man,
amazing
huge.
albums
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
But yeah, this
Mhm.
one wasn't great. I have here. I don't know how aware you are of the sleep token.
Mm.
Uh, I decided to dabble in that album a little bit. Pretty bad, pretty
Not a
AI
fan.
generated
Yeah, yeah.
vocals and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah.
wasn't great. I have here the Dave Blunt's album. I don't know why I made myself listen to that. That was pretty tragic. I didn't even make a video on it. I was just like, man,
Yeah,
this is
yeah, that's
crazy.
not even worth it.
And and then my two tied for the lowest of the year
Mm,
so far
okay,
are
mhm.
the Ken Carson More Chaos album. I
Okay,
just
yeah,
it to me, in one ear out the other, I just don't get the appeal of
mhm,
nonstop rage beat that's so
yeah,
grating, so no
yeah,
vocal presence. It's mostly the production. You might as well just be
yeah.
like a producer album with a guy screaming on it kind of thing.
Mhm,
And
yeah.
then the Drake and Party Next Door album, which was not for me.
Hey,
Yeah.
I talked to, I don't know if you've heard of, Sal Luciano. He's like
Mm.
he's like the guy that is in his car and is like, the biggest Drake fan ever, and, like,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah,
he's,
yeah,
like,
I've seen
singing a
that.
lot. So, I had him on, and he's from Toronto, so Toronto area.
Not far
So
from me, bro. I'm an
no?
hour away.
Where are
Mm-mm.
you? I
I'm in Ontario. I'll say that.
Okay, okay,
I'm in Canada.
okay. So, that's so funny. I've met more Canadian music creators. I just assumed nobody was from Canada. I'm actually originally from the east coast of Canada, in
There you
Nashville
go.
now. Yeah. But anyway, I was talking to him, and he was like, he's like, no, man, that album is amazing. Like, just have to be from Toronto. It's an ode to Toronto. And I was like, okay, I guess
Bruh.
if that's your argument, I'm not from Toronto, so
Sure.
I'm not gonna like touch it. But like, I agree. I didn't think that there was anything remarkable at all about it. But
There's
hey, he
that.
said he
It's I
loved it.
think the genre is like trap soul, where it's like
Mm,
soul music inspired by like very minimalistic, dark trap music, like drums
mm,
and all that. Like Bryson Tiller kind of started that
yeah,
vibe. I guess Drake was pretty significant in the early parts of that too. But to
mm,
me, it's so sappy and played out, and clearly, I'm not the demographic for it. He's not
yeah,
making this music for 20-something-year-old white dudes. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Like it's I'm not even mad at it. Like I
yeah,
like
yeah,
when Drake raps, honestly.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's fine with me, but this
Mm.
one wasn't for me. I will say that Nokia song is pretty good though. That one
Yeah,
is
yeah, it's a
fun.
bop.
It's
It's a
fun.
bop.
I'll give him
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing. That's what Drake is good for. Like, especially lately, I've just been finding that like his albums are like mostly not for me, but then there's
Yeah,
one or two or three bops on it that you're just like, oh yeah,
that's
this is
fine.
Drake. He's putting out a hit here.
Yeah,
Yeah. What about the Will Smith album? Did you dive into
bro.
that?
I did not tap into that. I kind of I went through like denial. There was an LL Cool J album last year that
Mm,
came out, and I was like, "There's no way this is gonna sound good," and it was pretty good. But that took a
okay.
lot of
Yeah.
willpower to even like press play on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So for Will Smith, I no, I saw that one freestyle he did,
Yeah.
pretty rough. So
You're like not touching this.
nah, I'm good on that one, man.
Yeah.
You know it's bad when no one even asks me to talk about it. That's the whole thing. Usually I can like
Yeah.
gauge throughout my comments like what's
Yeah.
popular now, but no.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you listen to it?
I did, and I don't remember any of it other than like the fact that he went through like I don't know if he was trying to like mix his like acting into his like music more, but he did the weirdest voices for some of his tracks. He did this one that's like kind of a reggae thing, and then he like decided to
Oh no.
adopt like a Jamaican reggae like type of, and it was
He's from
so
Philadelphia,
painful.
man.
I know it's so painful, and yeah, that's all I really remember. I don't remember like I wouldn't even be able to hum any of the melodies. Yeah, I was just like, well, this is rough. Um, but again,
What makes Will Smith wanna like release an album in 2025? Like
I don't know. That's
how
the
much
thing.
money do you
Like,
need, man?
well, yeah. He probably didn't make that much money off of that, but I think like I think some of the narrative was like, and maybe this was even in one of his like one of the lyrics from his one of his tracks, something about like he's becoming like irrelevant, but his kids are like becoming super popular, something like that. I heard this through the grapevine somewhere. I don't remember who told
Mhm.
it to me or if I watched a video of it, but that was like one of the things, and I was like, his kids really aren't that like I guess kind of a little bit, but like it's not like they're like to the point that Will Smith was in his
Oh,
career at
absolutely
any
not.
point. Like they're not anywhere close to that. He was like, well, and he's still a decently respected actor. Like obviously he's done some things. Like his slap was, now this album, like he's doing some things to make it so that he might not be overly popular anymore.
Yeah.
But he's still like a fairly respected actor. Like he was in King Richard, was that what it was called? The one
Yeah.
about the
He won the
Williams
Oscar
twins.
for that one.
Yeah, huge
Yeah,
movie.
shouldn't like a father want their kids to be more popular
Uh,
than him though. Like
you
I
would
love
think
Will
so.
Smith. I grew up
Yeah, I
on
know.
Fresh Prince of Bel Air,
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
hell yeah, I like Willow's actually making some great music like
Yeah,
here
I
and
love
there. She's
Willow
not like
stuff.
a
Yeah.
mainstream,
Yeah.
and Jaden had his moment too. Like fuck it, man. That's good stuff. Like if my kid is doing something as similarly artistically respected as me,
Yeah.
all for it. I shouldn't
Yeah.
compete with them,
I
especially at his
know. I know.
colossal age.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what like caused it. I don't know if he was just like, "Hey, I'm bored," and like at one point, like
Might be.
I had like a cool hip hop at one point like he was him and
And Jazzy
DJ.
Jeff, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Jazzy Jeff. Like that was a big moment in hip hop that
Yep.
he
Yep.
so
They
like
were.
I
kind of
don't
crucial
know.
for the mainstreamization
Yeah,
of hip hop. Yeah.
absolutely. So I don't know if maybe in his mind he was like, should I try this again? Like maybe I can re-enter. I don't know what he was doing, but like honestly, to me, it felt like if his character from Aladdin, like the genie, made an album. That's like what I'm at. Like that's to me, that's what I felt like I was listening to.
Yeah.
The
You
Aladdin
sold me. I'm
genie.
gonna check it out now. Now that you said that, I
Yeah.
might check it out. Yeah.
It was yeah, anyway, I don't know. I don't know. No yeah, no hate to Will because I love him, but I think at this point just like focus on acting because I think that's definitely where you're better at. You know, he's had some
Yep.
misses there too, but he's definitely much better in that in that realm in my opinion.
Yes. Yes.
At this point in his career for sure.
Hmm.
Um Okay, well, I don't think I can think of any other bad albums, especially in the hip hop world. I'm sure there are, like, but I'm trying to think of any that were like that I would ask you, what about this one? But that was the
Yeah,
only one that
I
came to
try to
mind.
I try to avoid things that are obviously like being called
Yeah.
bad out of the gate. Like, why would I
Mm,
succumb myself to that? I'm
yeah.
also not that type of content creator most of the time to like just
Mhm.
run to hate on something just to hate on it.
Totally.
Like,
Yeah.
I like being very cut and dry and honest in my reviews. Like,
Yeah.
I was pretty critical of like Travis's Utopia when it came out.
Mm,
Um, and that caught me a lot of flack, but I
mm.
figured it should be honest. Like it's
Yeah.
there's some great moments and there's some really not great moments, and
Yeah.
let's talk about both.
Yeah. This is kind of this might be putting you on the spot, but you might be able to think of it. But I'm always curious because as people that do reviews, music
Yeah,
reviews, it's one thing to give an album a great review. It's
yeah,
another thing for that album to be an album you go back to and listen to all the time or
right.
frequently, especially as
Yes,
somebody that is listening to music all the time for content's sake.
yeah,
You don't have a whole lot of time to revisit things, right? So,
sure.
my question to you would be in the last, like, you could even say 5 years, what are some albums that you revisit that you're like, I just love these albums. I revisit them all the time because yeah, like I've given albums when I was doing review stuff. I've said like this is a great album. Like for example, the Sufjan Stevens album that he released like a couple
Yep.
years ago. I thought that was like one of the best albums of the year. Have I
Hmm.
listened to it very much since? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
don't know.
for me, replayability and revisitability is that's not a fucking word.
I love it though.
Is like essential for a good
Mm.
album. Like
Okay.
there's not okay. This is not. I'm not trying to be like rude to this artist. There's a McKinley Dixon album that came out this year.
Mhm,
Great, getting amazing
mhm,
reviews. I listened
mhm,
to it. It was beautiful. Have not went back to it since. Just not like my
mhm.
daily cup of tea, I guess.
Sure. Yep.
But great album. So that's like the one thing that's missing from it being like the top tier.
Yeah.
But in
Yep.
terms of albums that like I'm looking again at my highest reviewed albums of the decade so far,
Yeah.
it's albums I listen to essentially weekly or monthly
Okay.
at least. Like
Okay.
I revisit it. Brockhampton's Roadrunner is my
Mm,
one of my favorite albums ever. Came out
mhm. Yeah.
2021. It's I consider that their last album because the send off albums
Sure.
weren't everything.
Yeah.
Uh, that album I could listen to it front to back every day if I had to. It's like
Mm,
that attractive to me. That I'm a big group listener. Like I love rap
yeah.
groups where there's
Yeah.
multiple voices bouncing off of each other. It's my
Mhm.
favorite thing, I guess. Or the Bruno Mars Anderson Paak album, the Silk Sonic album.
Yeah.
That stuff's incredible.
Yeah.
It's beautiful music. I could listen to that
Yeah.
anytime I hang out with my friends that one of their songs pops up. It's that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Or for me, actually, this might be a little dicey. GNX, not so replayable to me. There's some hits on it,
Mhm.
fun, but my life isn't always just fun to me.
Mhm.
So I tend to listen to Mr. Morale a little bit more,
Yeah.
just because
I'm
it's
here with you on that. Yeah. I
yeah.
haven't
There's a
listened
lot
to
more
GNX a
to
lot.
yeah. I'm again, it's a great album, but
Mhm.
missing that one little aspect to it.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, those are albums they've come out like 5 years ago at this point, and I'm
Yeah. You're still
still enjoying.
yeah, yeah, totally. It's interesting that you bring up McKinley Dixon because, and maybe this is just like goes into some of my preferences, but his last two, so this one, Magic Live or whatever, and then the one
Yeah,
before
yeah,
that, Beloved Paradise Jazz or something. I'm so bad with names, but
yeah.
those two albums, I've listened to them so much, and I think it's
There you go.
because I love jazz rap, and I just feel like
Mhm.
he does it really well. And that's what I love. about some of Kendrick Lamar's stuff too. Is like
Mhm.
he kind of incorporates that, especially in like To Pimp a Butterfly. There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I'm revisiting that all the time. I
Mhm.
just love that. It's like that or like something super experimental. So it's like it's so weird. It's like I love really beautiful jazz rap, and then I'm listening to JPEG Mafia, like literally, like I don't know what he's doing. He's like killing a
Yeah.
cat on one of his songs, like you know what I mean. Like the
Yeah.
production is from like sonically, like it's kind of horrible, but he's
Yeah.
intentionally doing
True.
that. You know what I mean? Like it's intentional. So
Mhm.
it is funny, like this thing, like I don't know, like I was a big fan of why am I forgetting his name? Gollywog is the album's
Right. The Billy
um
Woods album. Yeah.
yeah. Like I love that. It was so
Mhm.
I don't know. I just some of that stuff I eat up, but then it's like this like really mainstream like GNX. I was like, this is too polished. I don't like it. I don't know. It just
I
wasn't
guess
for
that's
me.
a thing. Yeah. I think I'm definitely have a syndrome of almost not preferring over polished music, but just I have to be sold on a story or a
Mm,
person or an emotion, whatever's kind of carrying the vibe of the album. I really have to dig into it.
yeah.
The JPEG Mafia album, I like the last one. Lay my life down for you.
Hmm.
Loved it. Actually, liked it, didn't love it to the point of
Mm.
like, wow, I really like the production here. Some literally never heard of sounds before are coming out of this album. But
Yeah.
there's something about JPEG I'm never fully sold on him as
Mm,
a storyline. Like
yeah. Yeah.
I again, I'm not trying to get myself into hot water, but that's just my personal opinion of it.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
so there has to be some kind of like weight to it that I'm like,
Mm,
I'm
mm.
essentially I'm helping the artist bear the weight by listening to the album. That's how I always view a project.
Yeah. Yeah, and that I think that's a good thing to have, like, but that is totally absent for me, to the point
Hmm.
where there's some times where I'm revisiting old music, and I'm like, "This person could be an axe murderer, and I wouldn't know," and I
Yeah.
might put out a video being like, "I just listened to this, it's, like, 7 years old," and then somebody might be like, yeah, that person, like, we've canceled them a long time ago and,
Right.
like, get into trouble because I just don't follow that. Like, I don't know if it's that my mind just doesn't go there, but it's like
Hmm.
when I hear something I like, I guess maybe what it all boils down to is I listen to production long before I listen to
Yeah.
lyrics.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I think lyrics tie you into that person as an individual because that's
Mm,
them, that's themselves, right? Whereas production is more about instrumentation and all that stuff. And like it takes
sure.
me a long time before I get into the lyric side of things. And like obviously to me, I still like I want the lyrics to be meaningful or at least to be like something like and
Substantial.
yeah, have some substance to them. So like
Yeah.
when I am thinking of is this a really good album, my first thing is like does it sound good to me? Do I like
Yeah.
it sonically? And then after like two or three listens, then I'm like, okay, I should probably like pay attention to the lyrics, like because I also want there to be some substance there as well. But
Are
yeah, it
you
is
familiar
interesting.
with Joey Valence and Bray?
I don't think so.
So
Not
they're these two dudes are a duo. They kind of like blew up in the last couple of years. Again, through it was like a little bit through TikTok, but it's
okay.
mostly like a nerd audience that's following them,
Mm,
like a rap nerd audience, I should say.
mm, mm,
Um, they have some of the most out there, interesting, captivating production I've ever
okay.
heard. It's super like punches you in the
Yeah.
face, and I love
Yeah.
it. But the lyrics are almost intentionally like goofy
Okay.
and silly. They're
Sure.
like almost like bad rappers as a gimmick, and maybe not
Mm,
bad rappers, more like Beastie Boys, like
okay.
heavily Beastie Boys
Or
influenced.
like early Tyler the Creator stuff, like where everything's a joke.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah.
Very like brash, like
Mm,
no, there's no bars or anything like that. And I think
mm,
that part to me, maybe I'm understanding with you, or it's like the production's really drawing me in because it's very explosive. But
yeah.
then the lyrics, you just listen to them, what they're saying, and I'm like, man, like this isn't
Yeah. You were almost
not for
great.
me.
You were almost
Yeah,
great.
you're
Yeah.
almost great, and I think like I almost like made a video one time about them saying like they just or whoever's producing for them. I think it's one of the members. Like he just needs to go work with other artists, and they
Yeah.
had JPEG Mafia on a recent feature,
Mm,
and he crushes it. Like it sounded
yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm onto something there.
Mm,
But
mhm.
yeah, I guess production is super important. For just like you can have a great song with a bad verse, like for
Yeah.
example in hip hop,
Mhm.
but I think you can have great verse but a horrible beat. Like I don't think that works at all.
Except for in like I don't know, man. I can't get into the SoundCloud like rap era here.
Right.
Like there's some stuff that I'm like I get intentionally like just wanting to like over distort and like destroy for the vibe of the album, but like
Yeah.
I know like Osama Sun is like really big right now.
Yep.
He's like really rising and I just can't, it's just too much. I don't know. It's
I
just
agree.
like
I
the
agree.
production I'm like, "Oh man." Like and I think that's
Yeah,
kind of
there's no
what you were
finesse
talking
to
about.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're talking about with Ken Carson too. Like,
Yeah.
like what is this? And it's really like kind of gaining a lot of popularity and I've been watching a lot of what's his name, it's a number 42 CEO or something. He's just streaming all the time because I'm just like I'm fascinated by this world of these new kind of rappers that are coming up and that like especially a lot of young people are like attaching themselves to,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I just don't I don't know, maybe I'm just an old head. Like
Yeah.
maybe
No,
I'm a boomer. I don't know. I'm just like I don't get it. I don't get how can you like
100%.
any of this? Like I don't
Yeah.
understand it. And I sound like a grandpa. I'm such like boomer coded with that, but like I'm like I don't know. I can't do it. There's like the occasional song that I'm like, okay, cool, but like yeah, like I could kind of get on board with Yeet a little bit, but then like as it
Sure.
keeps getting deeper down that vibe, I just
Yeah.
can't do it. I don't know.
I appreciate artists like Cardi and Yeet because they're very like innovative with the sound. They're doing different
Mhm.
stuff like Playboy Cardi with the different, vocal inflections and
Yeah,
the different production he
sure.
chooses to hop on. I think that's at least more captivating than just having like one style of droning beat throughout a whole album, which I felt like was the
Yeah.
case with the Ken Carson. But I
Mhm.
for me, I mean, for young people, if I put myself in that young person perspective, when Odd Future was blowing up, that was kind of what was drawing you towards it. But
Mhm.
there were like the energy, the punkish kind of vibe of it. But
Yeah.
on the core of it, there were still really good musicians and rappers. At least Tyler, Earl, Frank Ocean, Haji, Mike G, like all these guys were still really solid like
Yeah.
musicians. Whereas now it's like the musician aspect of it is less so important. It's more just the rawness, the energy of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I know that in hip hop too, like your appearance is like much more like you know what I
Yes.
mean, like your
Hmm.
vibe, like your physical like vibe and appearance.
Yeah.
But it seems like that's kind of what's drawing it way more than anything is like they're trying to match their physical like aesthetic to,
Yeah.
and it's like they're creating this world that I'm like I feel like I'm so I don't know. Like it's just this new it's a new genre that's coming up and it's like I guess maybe I'm a late adopter. I always thought I was like an early adopter, but I guess in this
Hmm.
situation I'm a late adopter because I'm like I don't get this. Like why are they wearing this? It's so weird.
Yeah.
Why is this like the marketing, the rollouts they're doing so strange? So like I don't get it. I don't get the music. I don't get the vibe. And
I
and
think
now I'm
the
going to bed at
saving
seven
grace.
o'clock.
Yeah, we sound so old right now. I think the saving grace for that type of genre is that the live shows seem fucking off the wall. Like
Yeah,
I that's
absolutely.
what I can be like,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Yep. Yep.
That's sick.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
maybe that's the whole point of it is to like come
Yeah.
out for a show. And we are
Mhm.
like we said, we're losing the idea of like true artistry in the form of like what artists would you go see live rather than just sit there and stream on Spotify. Like and those
Yeah.
artists seem like that. I'd
Mhm.
like to go to a Ken Carson show. I'd probably get punched out, but I'd like to
Seriously.
go
Yeah,
for
seriously.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both people that I've talked to that were like, "Yeah, I tried to go to a Ken Carson's show." They like one guy was like, "Yeah, like both of us, like me and my buddy, our phones got stolen." Another guy was like, "I got kicked in the face." Like I'm like, "Oh gosh." Like so
Yeah.
so it's just and I think that's what's so interesting is like, yeah, Travis. I don't know, like, I guess who would have started this. To me, it feels like maybe it was Travis Scott, which like it's kind of unfortunate because of everything that
Yeah.
happened at Astroworld. But like adding this like metal mosh pit
Uh-huh.
style to hip
Yeah.
hop is such an interesting concept and
Yeah.
vibe. Like I think it was always like jump around and stuff, but like I don't know, now that it's getting to the point where it's like they're almost doing the things that you see at metal concerts where it's like,
Yeah.
I forget what they call that, but like the wall of death or whatever, when
Yeah,
they just
dude.
literally just like separate and then
Hey,
like run at each other. It's like, what?
I was at a metal festival in Ohio like 2 months ago, Sonic Temple. That there was
Oh yeah.
a whole lot of that going on,
Oh
man.
man,
Like it
it's
was crazy.
great. And
But
like the craziest part is like at least with these hip hop shows, it's just like a bunch of like preteens and teens doing it. But like at
yeah,
metal shows, they're like these huge dudes. They're like 250,
yeah, man.
like, and they're just like swinging fists and kicking,
Yeah.
and like you're like, I'm gonna get like knocked out here. Like,
Yeah, you kind of have to be aware at all times. It's
yeah,
kind of it's almost
seriously.
like a animalistic experience. Yeah, but
Yeah,
in hip hop, I believe that whole thing was it came from like um the trap sound, so the southern like
yeah,
Atlanta sound, also Memphis influenced. Like they were those genres kind of going hand in hand, like a lot of the
yeah,
metal aspects and trap. And then whenever that started booming, I think the shows went crazy, where it was
yeah,
mostly the
yeah.
beat just destroying it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah, like, what else are you gonna do to a trap beat?
Yeah.
You can't, like, dance in any way, so, yeah, you're just gonna,
Mm.
like, kind of throw down. It's kinda like when dubstep was a thing, like, how do you dance to
Oh man.
dubstep? You know what I mean? Like
I wish I was old enough to go to like a Skrillex show in like 2011, man. That would have been
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, absolutely wild. Oh, man, that's so crazy. Um, cool, well, we've been going for a little bit. I do wanna touch base on I know you're a big CD collector. And
Yes.
I wanted to touch base on that just briefly, or however long it takes, I guess. But because I know that CD and vinyl are really linked, but most of the people I've talked to, they're like big vinyl people. Sometimes they're like, yeah, I'll
Mhm.
buy the odd CD. But to me, like CD is almost a little bit too close to home for me. Where I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I used to have a ton of CDs. Vinyl's like far enough removed where I'm like, yeah, I never had vinyl. Like my grandparents had vinyl or my mom had
Sure.
vinyl. But it's like, what is the appeal for you for CDs over something like vinyl?
So, price. No,
Yes.
that's usually my answer to that. But no,
Yeah.
CDs. I began collecting. Well, I was a 2000s kid. Essentially, I grew up with CDs around me,
Mm, mm.
and I think it's such a cool way to like put an artistic statement in like physical form that you can hold in your hands. Like, yeah, you can
Yeah.
hold a vinyl in hands too, but you're so delicate with it. Oh, I gotta put a placemat on the record play. Oh,
Yeah.
scratch this, that.
Yeah,
You need
yeah,
a
yeah.
$1,000 needle to touch it because it'll ruin
Mhm.
it.
It's
None of
true.
that. You throw the CD in like a $20 boombox from Walmart, it works
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But it's more so I started collecting it in high schoolish, I'll say. It's almost like I'm a big music is a moment for me. It's like albums are tied to specific moments in my
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
and I started getting CDs in well, like when I'm going through something like a big change in life, like
Sure.
something happened
Mhm.
in high school that was serious for me or
Yeah.
whatever, or starting university or whatever.
Mhm.
I buy some CDs that I'm listening to at that time to kind of like capture that moment. And
Yeah.
now, flash forward how many years later, we're here, and I have a music page, and it's all almost stupid how long it took me to like start bringing those out in videos. Like
Yeah.
maybe it was like a year ago. I've been doing it for almost three, and
Mhm.
I just started pulling out CDs like a year ago. And
Yeah.
even if they're just like maybe in the background, like these ones, like
Mhm.
sometimes it's not even related to the video topic. It's just like an Easter egg, kind of like how Fantano has his vinyls in his backs of his
Yeah.
videos,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's sometimes not even related. But now
Mhm.
I started incorporating them in videos as well because I realized a lot of people never see an album past the album cover. So
Yeah.
there's like
Yeah.
always the track list on the back,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
CD itself, the
Yep.
booklet, the pictures. So
Yeah.
there's just
Yeah.
so much that goes into it. And honestly, yeah, looking back, it is mostly the price of it. Like a
Mhm.
vinyl
Yeah.
is Canadian dollars, sometimes 60, $70, whereas a
Yeah.
CD, even CDs have upped in price a bit, but you can probably get it less than $20 if you're
Mhm.
lucky. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
my appeal. And they're easier to store and like
Yeah.
just so much smaller, you know?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, for sure. The thing that, like, it's the same, like, vinyl's so frustrating, like, sometimes they pack those things so tight, like, taking it out and then, like, trying to shove it back in, you're, like, trying to be
Yeah.
delicate, and you're like, "What the" but, like, the CD booklets, I always hated trying to put those back in, like, because it usually has those 4 tabs
Yeah.
on the inside, and I'm
Yep,
like,
yep.
"What in the" anyway, that's my
I mean, I
frustration with
also
CDs, but
think for me personally, for my content, the CDs stand out in the sea of vinyl collectors and vinyl
Yeah, they
speakers.
do.
So when
Stood out to
I
me.
like, yeah, I guess, and a lot of people like comment on that just because younger viewers now, they've never even seen a CD. A
Mm,
lot of new albums, they don't get CDs don't get shipped to like a CD store or Walmart or anything like
mm,
that. And
yeah,
if you order them online, they don't even come with a booklet anymore. It's like a blank CD essentially with like the photo of the album cover with some credits on it. That's
that's
it. There's
crazy.
like no
It's
finesse to it anymore.
yeah, yeah.
So I almost like had these like this grail of history in terms of what
Mm,
used to be marketing for music and
yeah,
showing it to a newer audience that is not really familiar with it.
yeah, yeah. It is so crazy that, but it's all coming back again. Like CDs, I think like vinyl came back like maybe in a big way like 10 years ago or something. Maybe I don't
Yeah,
know, something like that. CDs
around
I
there.
feel like are just starting. Like maybe within the last couple years like artists are actually intentionally releasing good CDs. Like you said,
Sure.
instead of it just being really cheap and like here's a CD because like some people might buy it. It's like I feel like the intentionality is going into that a little bit more. And like
Yeah.
now we're seeing like cassettes. It's like what in the world?
Yeah. Yeah, I think to the point of like at least, and these are still playable in most car
Mhm.
CDs. Like
Yeah,
you could
yeah,
still throw it in the car.
yeah.
Whereas again, like my friend has a very expensive record player that I had a couple. I had like maybe like 20 vinyls of my own that when I
Mm.
started collecting, and I just gifted it on to him. I'm like, you're gonna treat these better than I ever would,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just because it's more delicate in that way. But cassettes is crazy. That's like
I know.
almost like collector edition kind of thing.
Yeah, cassettes are crazy, and also, I mentioned him before we were recording, but I had Giggins on, and he's like a co-owner of a record store, which I had no idea about.
Wow,
And so we were talking about it, and I was like, I just joked, I was like, "What about 8-track?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, 8-track is coming back." I
that's
was like, "What?"
crazy.
And he's like,
It's
"Yeah, it's
coming
like."
back.
Yeah, he said it was coming back. I was like, "That's ridiculous." And he said, "Yeah, like people aren't releasing things on 8-track, but like people are wanting to get because like there were 8-track exclusives. Like so an album would come out and maybe there'd be like an extra instrumental on it for like
Sure.
an exclusive. But he was just saying like it's the dumbest techno it was the dumbest technology then. It's so dumb. Like I don't think it's ever going to come back like anything else because like the whatever it's called, the film or whatever is exposed. You just like shove it in and pull it out. There's no eject button on these 8-track machines. You just like
Yeah,
so it's like stupidest technology ever. And then he's like, some people even still are like collecting reel to reel. And I was I'm like, this is insane. Like
that's
people are
crazy.
wild. They just
Yeah,
I think as a species, we just like to collect things. We're natural hoarders. So I think no matter what
and
it is, we
and then it's a whole thing about always like this is a whole episode, another episode you could do about
sure, yeah.
nostalgia and music
Yeah,
and
yeah.
connecting those two things.
Mhm.
It's like my life is controlled by, like, at least in terms of entertainment, is controlled by nostalgia. I go back to what I'm familiar with when I was a kid and
Yeah.
just try and grow on top of that, because I'm trying to make that kid inside me still happy and still giddy about all these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
people feel the same way about vinyls and cassettes and whatnot, and
Yeah.
movie collectors.
Mhm.
That's a whole
Mhm.
different story.
Yeah, totally. It is. Yeah,
Yeah,
nostalgia is massive. And like you said, like having like music m movies can be this way, TV shows, but I think music is more so this way that like it imprints on you in moments like you
yes,
were saying, like these
yeah,
big moments more than anything. So
uh-huh.
when you watch or when you listen to something that is 20 years old, you a lot of the time are like transported back to some of those moments that you had with that. So
Yeah,
it's this nostalgia is so crazy. Like I grew up in high school listening to Blink 182, and Mark Hoppus just released like a memoir. So I read that book and I literally like I was like a teenager again for 2
yeah,
days where I
yeah,
was like, I'm going to go and like jump off a bridge into water. Like I was like, I want to go and do like punk things
yeah,
because this is what I did in high school. And like I thought Blink 182 was so cool. And we did so many things because they did things. And I was like, I want to do that again. Reading this like
yeah,
50 something year old's memoir, I was like transported back to those moments. And I was
yeah,
like, it's so the music is so powerful that way. And
yeah.
yeah, it makes
I
sense.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It connects me to like childhood memories. Like
Mm,
I'm fortunate enough to have a really strong like connection with my family. But
Mhm,
even when
mhm.
like now when I'm separated from, they're all over abroad in Europe, so I'm
Okay.
always kind of like separated from them for
Yeah.
longer periods of time. But there's some music that specifically reminds you of my mom, my dad, my brother, whatever
Mhm.
the case might be. It's just
Yeah.
it's like that deep connection. But
Yeah.
the funny thing is, they probably don't even know it that it reminds
It's
me
true.
of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
No, they wouldn't.
they're just like, oh, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, totally.
it's important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important, and this is why music will really never die, is that
No,
it
no.
is it's more than an art. Like, I don't know, like, you can paint it, or you can, like, relate it to other arts, like painting,
Yeah.
art in that
Oh
form,
yeah.
but it's more than that because, like, I don't know, and maybe it's because I'm not somebody that's into art, but to me, art doesn't imprint on you in the same way that music does.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely, like, it's 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 amazing when you see and you relate to somebody's work of art, like, something that you see. That's amazing, but, like, with
Yeah.
music, it's like, I don't know, there's just so much more. It's always been this way. There's just so much more wrapped into it, involved in it, and, yeah, it's just always gonna be something, and that's why, like, sometimes people relate to songs that you're like, "That's the worst song I've ever heard," and some people are like, "No, I love it," because it's like it hits them at the right place and the right time. And
That's
it's
fine. Like
it's
I
it's
have
so
a strong connection to like some old Usher songs that probably are not
yeah,
that great,
nice.
like in terms of the
Love it.
musicality of it,
Yeah.
or like Black Eyed Peas or something.
Yes.
Fine, but
Hey.
it's like nostalgic to me, and that's why a lot of times I get some weird comments that are like, "Oh, hope the views were worth it. White boy doesn't know nothing about nothing," and I'm like,
Oh,
dude, you have no
gosh.
idea how deeply I'm like like
Yeah.
rooted in everything I talk about. I
Yeah.
specifically avoid talking about stuff I'm not familiar with because I don't have
Yeah.
anything to add to it.
Yeah.
So it's just so important to me. I couldn't live without the stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that. Well, I think that is, like, pretty good spot to stop here. We've been going for
Sure.
for about an hour-ish. But this has been an amazing conversation. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man.
It was a lot of fun talking about all kinds of things. But ending on nostalgia is just so good for my heart, right? So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
don't be ever afraid, and whoever's listening, don't be afraid to go back to like nostalgia. Always like feed
oh
into that,
yeah,
make that child in you happy. A lot of
mhm,
people cut themselves away from that so they could like
yeah.
grow and mature and separate from stuff, and I'm sure there's benefits from that as well, as long as it's not like toxic. But yeah, always feed into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Go back, yeah, there's no there's I don't know. Yeah, I guess if it's bad memories, that's one thing, but, like, in terms of going back and, like, listening to stuff that you listened to that was stupid when you were a teenager, like, that's just it's so fun, and it's wholesome.
Whatever.
It's wholesome stuff. Um, yeah, anyway, I super appreciate you coming on the pod. We'll have to have you back on sometime, maybe.
For sure.
Maybe when Pusha T comes back to the forefront, I don't
Hey, hey. I
know.
appreciate you having me. This was fun.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of fun. So anybody out there that doesn't know what's the buzz, which I would be surprised by, but follow them everywhere: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I don't know if you're on Twitter or not, but nobody likes that
Barely.
anymore anyway. But yeah, go follow him. He's got lots of great content, and yeah, he's always you're always keeping up with hip hop stuff. So I appreciate that for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, come back next week. We're gonna have another guest, another episode. We'll see you then.